Hello there, and welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Ngani Titan. The last week of February, basically, the last 5 days of February have been dominated by this Defender of the Fatherland operation, where Wargaming are basically giving away the latest of their free tanks. This version of the operation, or the way they're doing it this particular time, is it's basically a raffle. It's a very complicated raffle, but it's essentially a raffle. You or a lottery. You basically play a Russian tank. If you do 500 points of damage in a battle, you get a loot drop. There's a random loot drop. You get silver, 1,000 silver, 2,000 silver. There's some silver multipliers, experience multipliers, crew experience multipliers, I think, and one of them is a Defender of the Fatherland medal. And if you get 5 Defender of the Fatherland medals, you get the free tank. Which is fine, I got it in about 60 games. It's grand, no problem, but there are people out there who've played 300 or 400 games and haven't got any medals. And they're feeling rather aggrieved about this. So I've got the tank. It's I haven't played the IS-3, so it's essentially apparently an IS-3 with slightly different gun handling, worse gun handling, I think. It's well armoured. I'm having difficulty making it work. I'm having difficulty making the gun work, essentially. It would set you back anywhere from 70 to 86, 87 euros to buy the thing, which is certainly more than I'd pay for it, but then I'm probably not in the market to buy another Russian premium. I have the KV-5 and the IS-6. And I played the KV-5 better than I played the IS-6, probably because I haven't actually played the IS line. So I haven't really learned to work the IS tanks to their maximum advantage. And when I have played the IS-6, I haven't played it in kind of a long period to really learn how to use that tank well. So I have the same problem with the Fatherland. I'm probably not using it to its best advantage. But as I said, I'm not really in the market for more Russian premiums. I also have the Churchill 3, so I think I'm really reasonably well supplied for Russian premium tanks. And I'm not a collector of premiums. But the operation is kind of going to cause maximum frustration, because while it's relatively easy and a lot of people will win the tank, fairly trivial amount of gameplay, there are some people going to be unlucky because there's a large enough population of people playing World of Tanks for Wargaming that they're going to be unlucky, and they're going to have very long streaks where they're getting the loot drops but they're not actually getting the medals. And this is what's happening, and of course this frustration is boiling out over in the forums. It seems to me that people don't understand how probability works. Well, there's a lot of evidence in psychology and economics that people don't, but furthermore the developers at Wargaming don't seem to know how it works. A straightforward lottery saying if you logged in and played a Russian tank in the last 5 days of February, we give you a percentage chance of getting a free tank. It would be much better. Given that I was easy one way or the other as to whether I got another Russian premium tank or not, I basically used the games played for the Fatherland medals as a kind of a de-stressor from the Hellcat games. I didn't play too many Hellcats in any one day, probably no more than, well, maybe 20 at most, but usually maybe 6 to 10. But they were, you know, pretty high pressure, and then I would go into a Russian tank and I would just need to get 500 points of damage. So I used to start off the day mostly playing the ST1 because I'm kind of grinding that line, so the experience boosts and stuff like that were very useful. But as the operation wore on, more and more people were playing high-tier Russian tanks. The place would get filled up with IS-7s, and I was having trouble penetrating IS-7s. I have trouble penetrating IS-7s on tanks with really good guns, much less tanks like the Fatherland, which is an IS-3A or something like that, which doesn't have that great a gun, so therefore. And you were getting like literally wall-to-wall heavy tanks. I played a game on El Halou where there was something like 13 heavy tanks aside in the A1, A0 corner. It was quite amazing. There wasn't room to turn. And probably 3/4 of them on both sides were IS-7s. So as you can imagine, I just thought I gave up on this, so I started playing the KV2, and as you can see here, the footage that I've been showing, I've been having quite a lot of fun playing the KV2. In this particular game, I've had basically KV85s throwing themselves at me. You know, some pretty brave souls coming down to this little valley, facing off a KV2 in a box tank. 500 points of damage per game isn't that particularly challenging, and I did it in most games. There might have been, out of the 60-70 odd games that I played, I think there might have been maybe 5 or 6 where I didn't actually make the necessary numbers, and a couple of them were T-34-85 games, and a few of them were KV2 games where I just got stomped early on, as sometimes do in the KV2. So we've cleaned up quite nicely here in the south coast. Just trying to remember the map there for a second. I'm not going to get the last remaining tank. And it was actually a pretty decent win. So we'll see how we did now when the scorecard comes up. So I made quite a bit of silver on this one. Did over 2,000 damage, over 1,000 spotting damage. High caliber and first class mastery. Got 1,000 silver, so the money boost in the silver wasn't huge. I think the Metal Giant is a silver boost as well. The next game coming up is the game where I actually earned the final medal. So we're on Siegfried Line, and it's encounter mode, and I'm in the KV5, which is, and I'm top tier, so it's top tier, urban map, KV5, no artillery. Very little artillery throughout this entire operation. In fact, if you want to play World of Tanks without much in the line of artillery, or farm damage on an infinite swarm of heavy tanks, these days were the days to do it. The next couple of days are still worth doing it. The current meta, so to speak, is wall-to-wall Russian heavy tanks are pretty much near enough. Sprinkling mediums, and the occasional people who don't care or have given up and are playing other stuff or have already gotten the Fatherland and have gone back to playing whatever it was they're regularly playing. So I'm going to proceed into the middle of the town because it's KV5 and it's an urban map. So yeah, like I said, the meta is if you want to farm damage off of Russian tanks, now's the time to be doing it. Bring out your Ferdinand or your Jaegeru or whatever, and they'll be practically queuing up in front of you. So the team is pushing into the town. There's the odd enemy spotted on the southern side of the town. Siegfried Line is a map that can go anywhere. You have people push into the town, and then it can get very confused very quickly. Somebody puts an end to that. Was it an SU or an ISU 152? So I was expecting them to come around the corner after having cleared it out, but they didn't turn up. And one has learned to be cautious pushing forward, because sometimes you can be here and you look at the map and there's a tank in either flank hole in the corner and you think, yeah, grand, my flanks are secure. You push forward a block and the guy in the corner just wanders off and drives off somewhere else. And the next thing you've been shot at by a mob of mediums that have come around the back of you. Now I've been spotted as I approached the arch there. So I thought there was somebody somewhere nearby, but it doesn't seem to be. Or if he is, I suppose there's nothing that side. It's probably actually the IS below here that spotted me, but I didn't spot him peeking out. However, we get the better of an exchange with the IS, and he sits there in the open, and we finish him off. The Tiger 131 is a more challenging proposition, and he's angling his tank pretty well. Not sure whether I hit him that time or whether it dunked into the rubble there in the side of the alleyway. So I've decided I need to get closer, and I have the wreck of the IS below there that I can use to protect the weak spots in the front of my tank. that wreck of that IS proves to be very useful in this game. I would recommend, you know, finding a tank like that anytime you're playing a KV5 and using it to protect your frontal armour, because you can push it around on a street no problem. I'm not really making the best use of it yet, and that IS-3 puts a very solid shot into the front of my tank. And at this point I decide that maybe I need some additional spaced armour in front of my tank. So I start pushing the IS down the road in front of me. This proves to be quite a workable strategy. Now, guys here on my left are caught really, because there's tanks poking the corner to the west of them, and there's me. And the 131 is putting rounds into the side of me as well. I completely misplaced that shot. I was trying to get into the front, but I mistimed his jinking, and I should have gone for the side of the turret, and I would have finished him off a turn earlier. So we push our spaced armour out in front of us, and we take care of that tiger. Somebody else is shooting me from down the field. There's probably a tank destroyer or something down there. But the turret side is pretty strong, and as long as I don't stay flat for too long, I should be okay. But I just need to put a shot into the back of this IS-3. You have to be careful where you put it, because the sloping in the back of the IS-3 is actually quite good. They can bounce an amazing number of shots from every direction. I think the IS has now outlived its usefulness as spaced armour. I need a bit of mobility. The remaining heavy tank in the town, I think, is this Tiger 2 over here. So we're going to head over and see if we can get there in time. So we trundle over, and there he is. He's on very low health, but we finish him off. Somebody takes out a tank destroyer that I was had line of sight on. It gives me a spotting ribbon. And the remaining enemy tank destroyer is probably out in the field somewhere. So you never know your luck. We might as well drive out in the field and see if we can get a shot at them. So that was a fun little game. We didn't take much damage. We dished out a nice piece of damage. We didn't do anything remarkable or, you know, amazing tactically or anything like that. It was actually over quite quickly. I mean, it's 9:30 remaining, and the game is essentially over. So, what, 6-minute game? So, GG and victory. All enemy vehicles destroyed, and we'll see how we did. So 71,000, 1800 damage, 1200 blocked, 3rd class mastery, and the Fatherland drop. So we get medal number 5. So that's it, I got the tank. Came second by experience. So I hope you enjoyed the video, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.